Good to see you again. Well, this is a little dinky ratings update. New information, no tried and tested stuff here. Good to see you, everybody. Some on your lunch break, some having a nice afternoon. Now, you know this is how it works. As soon as you get the consolidated, people go, oh, look at the added value. And in this case especially, they might say, well, look at it, it's the Interstellar. Come on, this is the big one. This is the big one. So, first of all, before I trundle on too far, thank you, Garbage. Mike is great. We'll continue then. We'll make the most of this. Right, thanks for that, because my heart is always in my mouth on this one. So, am I coming or going now? Oh, well, you decide. I always think respect the public. Let them decide. So 3.75 is the actual headlines. The Interstellar Song Contest has swiftly become, apparently, the most watched episode of the series, engrossing 3.75 million viewers. 7-day data reveals it was the 9th most watched broadcast of the week. Now, puts it back in the top 10, which, as you know, was in the top 35 last week. But we expected this, and you will expect me, with my ratings and analysis, to do a little bit more tweaking behind the scenes. So yes, that is the figure. I'll applaud if you want. 3.75. It's better than out. But let's get the contextual good news out the way. So, of course, I've been saying, this is Doctor Who back on form. So basically, 4th across the week from the BBC. So it's behind the Eurovision, Race Across the World, Antiques Roadshow. We can't beat that juggernaut of Antiques Roadshow. What is it that Antiques Roadshow does that Doctor Who doesn't? Is it gives you what it says on the tin? I mean, do they do a lot of DEI casting in Antiques Roadshow? Or is it the antiques that do the talking? So, that's the context there. But take a look at this. Take a look at this. This is when it gets tasty. The Eurovision Song Contest, okay, itself got 7.065 million. Okay, it's a juggernaut. It should be a big beast. It dominates the whole blooming night, and it's advertised for weeks. And a lot of Europe are watching it. So 7.065 million for that. The genius of RTD and Juno Dawson was they would do an episode that leads into it that has the same context, the same Europop vibe. So you'd think that the fans who watch the Eurovision would watch Doctor Who. And as you see there, even though Doctor Who was really pretty much on the money emulating the Eurovision, it got half the audience. Seriously, half the audience. I mean, it's absolutely shocking. Absolutely shocking. If you want to know statistically, I did say half. It's 53%. So that 3.75, 53% of the audience that did actually watch the Eurovision was watching Doctor Who. And I think that's a worthwhile figure to talk about because, hold on a minute, I thought it was emulating it. So, that's a bit of a stinker, isn't it? You'd expect a higher percentage of the people who like Eurovision would have been watching Doctor Who. So even on the consolidated, half? 53%? Is that an experiment that's worked? And so you've got that element, that's your headline there that can't be taken away at all. 50% of the audience watch Doctor who watch Eurovision. Now, let's look at a greater context. Oh yes, I've got my graphs. If you don't like maths, just enjoy the wavy lines. Here we go. Let's compare the consolidated now. So we've just been given a sexy figure, some will think, of 3.75 million consolidated for the Interstellar Song Contest. So let's look at how that compares to Ncuti's first season, the rest of his second season, and Jodie's last. Yeah, let's be fair. Now you can see Jodie's consolidated beat every single one of all of Ncuti's season 1 and 2. Bless her. Look at that. Season 1 of Ncuti, when he's the new Doctor, of course, and the specials had just kind of pumped him up in red there, was comfortably below Jodie. However, it has not been emulated or echoed at all by season 2. Now take a look at that blue line, that's season 2. Even with the peak, you can see where the Interstellar Song Contest almost touches where we were with season 1 of Shooty. It's not touching, it's missing, and I think, come on, even the ones who are supporting this era would say next week it's going to fall away from that. So basically, you can see that the decline of Doctor Who from Geordie to Shooty first season to Shooty second season. Yeah, just take a look at it. Am I lying? Am I over grifting on one actual headline, or am I actually giving you context? So that's a bit of a disturbing picture, isn't it? That even this great moment, which is actually it's the fifth best consolidated figure of Shooty's whole era. The fifth best. I'm including the Christmas specials and all the rest of it. So this is the fifth best consolidated for Shooty. And it can't touch Geordie's at all. Nowhere near. And because it's a 3-dimensional line graph, you can see there is a hell of a gap between that Shooty episode there, Interstellar Song Contest, and any of Geordie's. Okay, do you want some more context? Okay. Right, I've updated this. Now this, you see, this is the interesting thing. Does a swallow make a summer? If we are supposed to be told to be happy about the consolidated for Interstellar Song Contest, 3.75, come on, don't you lot realise? Okay then, right, we'll take a look here. So that means I'm looking at every time we have the overnight ratings, and every time then we get the consolidated, how much extra is added. Are we seeing a bounce? Are we seeing momentum increasing? Are we seeing something change? Right. If you don't like maths, yet again, I will say to you quite simply, the Geordie before her last season is the blue line. So the furthest back from now is the blue line. You can see there that, gosh, Story 1, she really did get she got 2 million people between the overnights and the consolidated added to in the streaming list there. But then it falls like a brick. You've then got Jodie's last season, and as you can see, it really did struggle, didn't it? And the only reason it gets high at the end is, of course, the power of the Doctor, that very last regeneration, when everybody showed more interest, and that picked up an awful lot. Remember, these lines are telling us how many people didn't watch overnight, but watched later. So the lines are all telling you add between 1 and 2 million, aren't they? That's the truth of it. Whoever you are, Geordie or Shooty. And, okay, so that's just the context. So where do we stand with Shooty's second season? Take a look at the amber graph, the yellow graph. And if you look there, because we're in this great streaming century, we're in this great moment of the Disney budget and everything we were told by Bad Wolf and RTD. So take a look. And as you can see, that graph is going down. And even including the Interstellar Song Contest. So hello everybody, I am including the Interstellar Song Contest. I am using all data they give me. I am just not grifting on one piece of data. I'm applying it to a graph. And as you can see there, even including, and it's the last entry, Story 6, on the yellow line is the Interstellar Song Contest. And as you can see, it's actually in third place for the rise. So in other words, it's right within the spectrum. It isn't anything special. It looks, if you were doing that graph for next week and the week after, that we're not going to add too many more to our finale. So in other words, this season's not going to too hot. So yet again, I'm just trying to give you some kind of context to what you're going to see on other streams. Now, let's talk a little bit else. So I've just talked about, you can see we're not adding value. You can see we're not increasing over time. That graph tells you that each year of Doctor Who, we get worse in the ratings. We are losing momentum. We are losing audiences. And as you know, we keep getting told, shut up, you dinosaurs. Don't you realise nobody watches TV in this format anymore? And then I'm just going to say to you, please tell me about the traitors. Yeah, dramatic pause. Look at that. The Traitors UK finale TV ratings for Series 1, 4.7 million. For Series 2, 8 million. For Series 3, 10 million. 4.7, 8, 10. That audience has doubled. Now please tell me that TV's dying. Please tell me that you can't build an audience over time. Please tell me that you can you survive without a Disney budget? That, as well as the Postman drama, as well as Race Across the World, are proving how you can, if you give something unique, give something interesting, and take your audience seriously, that you actually can build an audience. The thing that you have to answer though is, why is Doctor Who not doing that? Like I said, if you don't like maths, just look at the lines and you can see that our shooty lines are not in the right places, right? That blue line there is below the red one and is below the grey one. That means we're going down over time. That means we're losing momentum. You know, if I did a graph for the Traitors, it would be higher, higher, higher. So basically, Doctor Who is doing the opposite of some other programmes out there. Okay. Context is everything. Context is king. So, our overall picture, and this is where, again, if you don't like maths, I appreciate that. All I do is say colour is key. The BBC said to us recently that the average for consolidated that they're happy with is 4 million. So 4 million is there right in the middle as a kind of lemon, right? Red is obviously danger, and obviously as we get brighter and get to greener, you know, it's the rag rated system, you know that that's better. So basically what I've done here is I've updated it just to help you. There's Peter Capaldi's last season, and these are the consolidated, the things they love, right? Look at that. His average for the year, by the way, including his regeneration episode, well, it was supposed to be, wasn't it, the Dr. Falls, his average is 5.88 million for his consolidated, remember. Geordie's last season, 5.39, so it loses 500,000 between Capaldi and Geordie. Interesting, isn't it, how they got rid of him for her. Okay, so she has 5.39 million consolidated. We then come to, well, that's her last main season. Then, of course, I apologise. Then we had the season 13 where she did the flux and bits and bobs. I've given it a fair figure there, 4.75 million. Then you come to Shooty, 3.7, 3.1. Now, you don't have to be brilliant at maths. You don't even need to get a calculator out to say between Capaldi, then Geordie's next season's Alon, we're losing 500,000 roughly each season. 500,000 each season. So, this is consolidated, which they adore, and they said 4 million is the figure they like. Well, I'm sorry, but we haven't been hitting that since Jodie's last season, properly. And on current trajectory, surely we're going to be getting about 2.7 million consolidated next season, if there is one. You get my logic? I'm only applying the logic. I'm not bending the graph. I'm not trying to cheat. That's the system. So, again, it's a bit of a concern, isn't it? They've said 4 million's their magic figure. You're not getting it. You look at the trajectory, it basically about 500,000 a season in the consolidated it falls. I've been doing the stats and you know it's about 30% each year we lose. So, what else is in store? Well, just to kind of wrap up for you there's the main figures you can see there for applying the same logic. Red for overnights there, red for 7 days, and red for consolidated. You will see I've been fair, and 3.75 pulls it up back into amber, being reasonable. But the overnights for Wish World were different, weren't they? They were not like Interstellar Song Contest. We dropped again by 740,000. Now, if you apply the same logic, if you fall that far, 740,000, you can do the maths here. You can see where we will end up. Yeah? On average there, you can see between the immediates and the consolidated, we've been adding with the shooty second season about 1.2. It's actually a bit lower, so I'll be reasonable at 1.2. So you can expect possibly that with Wishworld, if it's 1.5, it'll get about 2.7. 2.7. Okay, so let's go back to this. So 2.7 would put it around the story and the engine or Lucky Day, which is in the bright red danger zone. So I'm just going to give you that context. I don't want to blast you with ratings and maths on its own. I just want to keep giving context. There's no way the sense sphere, who wants to talk sense, make sense with all this blather nonsense, wants to just kind of be shrill about things, shout about things, celebrate about things. We just want to say, that's the situation in truth. No drama. You can take what you want from that. You can celebrate if you want. You can, be mortified. That's for you to decide. My game is not to tell you what to think. I will just give you the figures. So, am I coming or going was my fair question on these shooty figures. Is 3.75 million for consolidated good or bad? Well, I've just shown you the context. And tonight at 8 p.m, I'm on again with the Children of Time. I think that's going to be a lively one. Does RTD's Doctor have a future? It's trying to be a clever title. Does the Doctor, as in the 15th Doctor, have a future after next week? Does RTD have a future after next week? Does the Doctor Who programme have a future after next week? Bearing in mind what we've seen in Wishworld. So just before I go, I thought I might actually just take a few questions and see what people are having to say in the thread. Deadman, hello. You mean Eurovision smashed Doctor Who back, don't you? it did defeat it. It did. There you go. There's the figures. It didn't do very well. I'd expected it to have done a lot more than that. Let's have a look. Let's see who else we've got here. John Sweeney, no point having another season with RTD at the helm. His writing is repeat, agenda, repeat. And actually, let's be objective. If I was one of those media executives, it's not about whether you like Doctor Who or not. It's not even whether you watch it in the tapes that you get sent. It's just cold facts. Is it doing well statistically? And I have to say, we come down to two things. I've shown you all my data. I won't repeat that again. That would be like being with RTD. But the other version that some of the other people say is they go, oh, well, look at it. It's in the top 10. So come on, it's in the top 10. Yes, but isn't the context that we haven't added all the extra money it costs? Antiques Roadshow is a lot cheaper than Doctor Who. This is the point. I'm not panicking or anything. I'm just concerned that Doctor Who is an expensive show and it therefore has to have muscle in the ratings, surely. And if they can make, if the BBC can make another Traitors and build an audience that dwarfs Doctor Who, we're apparently proud to get 3.57 million when Traitors is getting 10. And it's cheaper. Please, if you're a BBC executive, what are you going to do? And that, I think that's the thing that I would be questioning when people say, oh, shut up, Doctor Who's doing very well. Well, if I was a BBC executive, I might think I can get more bang for my buck by, remember, this is the justification Michael Grade gave. Michael Grade, and Jonathan Powell, the controller of BBC One after him, said, if we axe or put Doctor Who in her hiatus, what did they say? We can use that money for more drama projects. And that's what they did. And so you can make the same argument again. Get rid of the Doctor Who budget and we could make some new dramas. Cheaper. Instead of 8 episodes of Doctor Who, we might get 22 episodes of something else. And it might actually do better. I'd risk it. Anthony Parkinson, the BBC are incapable of fixing the problem because they do not understand the show. At this point, they might as well sell the franchise to Amazon or Netflix. They cannot do any worse. I see your argument, Anthony. Trouble is, once it's gone, and then there's no control at all. I don't like how the control is being exercised at the moment, but then control can be exercised by the BBC if it so wants to. But once somebody owns it abroad or something, it's gone. And I think one of the arguments we've had for a while is it doesn't feel very British, and the British element I thought was what made it successful. That's the problem. Now, Pascal here, this totally ignores the context of the overall TV ratings. Doctor Who's doing really well. It's not the great success it was, but it's doing well enough. Pascal, I did say that. I said it was in the top 10. What I'm saying is, within the context of Doctor Who, where it's standing, but then I do give wider context too. So, Pascal, I will show you some of the programmes doing better than Doctor Who. And I actually did make a very precise point, Pascal, which is while Doctor Who's audience is actually falling, and if your argument is, well, the overall TV ratings are falling, I made the point that the Traitors is actually increasing. That Race Across the Worlds is increasing. The Britain's Got Talent's audience is increasing. So I always go wider and overall. You might tell me, oh, it's in the top 10. Goody, we're going to have a party tonight. But one swallow doesn't make a summer. Just because you're in the top 10 one week, we're in the top 35 last week. And remember, Pascal, you've just heard my argument. Whether Doctor Who's in the top 10 or top 1, oh, it gets to number 1. Oh, wow. What does that mean, Pascal? If Doctor Who got to number 1, does that mean everything's amazing? I would actually be arguing as a tough, bullying media executive, Doctor Who should be number 1. It's a British product. It's got Disney money. It's apparently got a top award winner writer. And it's got top actors in it who are going to be in Hollywood soon. My argument would be, why the hell isn't it number 1? So yes, Pascal, I love overall context. I will talk to you all day about it. Yeah, let's have more. I would not put up with this if I was a media executive. I would ask serious questions because I would see the overall context. And I want a bit of what the Traitors is doing. That's how greedy media executives are. I want a bit of that success over there. I want a bit of that. I don't just want to be giving you more money, RTD. Pascal, Doctor Who is making much more money than it costs. It's an international show that generates income. Antiques Roadshow doesn't. Again, Pascal, happy with the argument, and I agree with your overall argument. But we're not exactly disagreeing. The Doctor Who Classic series is making a lot of money. Do you think season 15, which didn't sell out, season 14, didn't sell out with the DVD, the Jodie Whittaker's DVDs didn't sell out, the Dolls didn't sell out. I understand, and I love the fact that we're debating, but come on, Pascal, you're talking about the overall figures. Can we divide, please, to make it a fair argument, merchandise and all the money the Doctor Who makes, the BBC makes from Doctor Who, how much of that is classic and how much of that is new Who? Right, there's my question. We need the answer to that to see where we go. Stephen Braddock, well, I'm terrified just what we're going to see on Saturday because RTD has said what happens will rewrite history and change the Doctor Who universe. As if that's what we need at the moment. Personally speaking, I'm not sure we do we? Woodhouse 122, I'd love to see the viewing figures for Disney Plus. Maybe it's doing well there, or most likely it's tanking. Well, Paul Clifton, Gary Lee's been mentioning it as well, as he had a leak that the audience dropped quite dramatically for Disney. So we'll chase that up when we get confirmed figures. Let's see if anybody else has got anything to say. I want to keep this nice and brief for everybody because we do have our 8 p.m. show tonight as well. The BBC have been clueless how to run Doctor Who since the mid-80s, says SideQuest Nerd. Yeah, I think I argued this last year at some point. They've been sitting on a gold mine, as Pascal is saying, but they've either had the wrong people in charge, they've imposed the wrong policies on it, like the DEI stuff, serious messaging, serious lecturing, instead of entertainment. Within entertainment is a big umbrella title, but underneath that umbrella title, I would say that the issue about Doctor Who is its unique selling point is you get to scare the kids, but they'll love it. And why aren't we doing that? What we're doing is pap entertainment, um, Europop mixed with a bit of high camp, mixed with a bit of blather. It's not. It's just not what Doctor Who was. RTD has made a decision that I don't want that version of Doctor Who. I want this version of Doctor Who. Now, Pascal seems to be saying no, but there's nothing to see here. It's doing very well on the money it makes. But a lot of us would say that's classic Doctor Who money. That's nothing to do with what RTD's doing. And actually, can we split the pot even further? A lot of us acknowledge RTD1, his first era, was highly successful, and so was the merchandise. That's a dead brand now. Even David Tennant's a dead brand now with Doctor Who. So I think we've got to be careful that we're not comparing all the wrong things. Pascal, BBT actually had the worst ratings. What's that? Is that Britain's Got Talent you're trying to say there? Britain's Got Talent's still doing very, very well? Or are you meaning something else? Zero Room, hello. The BBC will have egg on their face if they admit the direction they took was a mistake. They'll not admit that. Which media executive would admit that? Because they'd never get another job in TV. Dr. Rick, hello. When is RTD going to regenerate? Enough is enough. Um, hey, we hear the rumours, but there's no guarantee, is there? The BBC might stubbornly just continue. The fact that RTD has so openly and publicly said he's written most of the scripts for season 3 and season 4, I am concerned about that, because it's a high risk strategy for him if he says that repeatedly in public and doesn't continue with his job, because that really does look like a slap in the face. So the fact that he said it so openly and publicly, and we've all heard the rumours that he's been sacked, those two things don't link up, do they? That's my concern. Stephen Braddock, Doctor Who used to be event TV. Yes, now that is the truth. I remember being at a barbecue when everyone left early because everybody wanted to see part 2 of The Stolen Earth. Then the street was empty. Golden days. And remember, only a few years before that, Doctor Who wasn't even on the TV. So you can create something. I think you can also kill something. And I think that in some ways, Pascal's argument about merchandise is partly what's killing it. Because they're too obsessed with the merchandise now, almost as a hint that the merchandise comes before the brand and comes before the story. That is my concern. Yes, make a good programme, people will buy the DVDs later and all the rest of it, but don't make stupid Sonics and stuff like that thinking of an audience that will buy. Just do what's right. Don't start making Count Dooku bony jet skis and stuff like that. Betsy, hello, I can't believe this nonsense is parading as Doctor Who. I was a fan from 78 through to Capaldi. Doctor Who is an asexual old white guy, and he's nothing because he's male. I'm going to do I did a show about the torture scene last week. I'm building up to do a scene about toxic masculinity in Doctor Who and how it's been defined over time. That'll be a one-off special. But I see what you're saying. I totally see what you're saying. So, oh, well, let's just have a look. I've enjoyed this, Pascal, and this is what it wants. I will always entertain debate. Pascal, I don't disagree that the show has a lot of problems right now. I just feel the whole ratings disaster narrative is totally misused by people being unsatisfied with Disney Who. I hope you realise, Pascal, though, that the way I've presented it, and I have actually, you can quote me back, I have been saying it's for you to decide. I have an opinion, but I have said to the audience it's for you to decide. Yeah? In fact, even look at my question for the thumbnail. Am I coming or going? Is this a good headline or is this a bad headline? 3.75 million. I am leaving it to the audience. I am sticking to that. But that is true, that figure there. If it's a Eurovision episode, the Doctor Who, the whole thing was Eurovision. You would, I'm sure, RTD. Come on, did you? I thought surely the Eurovision audience would watch Doctor Who as well, because you're getting more of what you like. But it didn't work out like that. 53% of the audience that Eurovision got. That's not sexy. But I appreciate you coming on, and to be honest, more to the point, if you write to me, I'll have you on if you're happy to do it. Because I do like debate, and actually, by asking the questions of each other, we might have a brilliant debate, which is the debate everybody should be having in the pub if we all lived in the same town. This is the point. And Pascal, all you've sounded tonight is reasonable, and that's all I'm happy with in this channel. I am reasonable. I know you might see one thumbnail, one moment, but I'm actually quite reasonable. It is why I called it the Sensphere. I know it has a Doctor Who connection, but I've tried to be fair. You can see all the graphs and everything, and it can only be fair if you show context. It's always unfair when you suddenly say no context is allowed. So everybody, I have really tried my best to actually go through the latest. As Pascal's saying, there are channels out there that like to say there's a disaster narrative. I don't think it's brilliant. I do think, some people will say the 3.75 million is stunning. It's just what we need. Pascal has said it's in the top 10 for the week. That's for the BBC. Let's just see how things go. But the Traitors is doing a lot better. Postman Drama does a lot better. And we could go on. Just to remind everybody then, tonight at 8 o'clock, I've got the lads on. See if they end up in the playpen, whether they get Teacher Brendan or Barusa Brendan, or whether they get worse. It should be a laugh. Oh, ho, ho. So we've got Ryan, Sonny, and Sean on tonight, and they'll give me hell. You know what they're like. So Pascal, if you've not seen us before, this is when it kicks off tonight, and the question, as you know, is threefold. It's just I like to keep my titles short. So everybody, thank you for joining me at this unannounced hour. I will get ready now for the show tonight, but thanks a lot, and hopefully that just helped give you a little bit to absorb during your lunch break or at any other time. Just to be aware, there's other streamers who will just basically read out what the headlines are. I'll get behind the headlines, and that's what I'll guarantee. So look forward to tonight. Plenty more laughs. Bye for now.